Greetings fellow gamers, I'm the Soulsborne Seeker and today I'll be reviewing Luna's Light, an action-adventure platformer Metroidvania title released by MSUS for Games on the 26th of February 2024 and available for PC. Luna's Light transpires in a post-apocalyptic world and tells the story of the titular Luna, a young huntress living in a small village built atop large trees within the woods. While her day starts off normally as she goes about her regular training, things quickly take a turn for the worse when a group of bandits abduct her fellow villagers, including her father. Armed with nothing but a bow and her bravery, Luna embarks on a treacherous journey away from the safety of her settlement in order to save her people, oblivious to the horrors that lurk across the outside world as well as the terrors buried beneath it. The game's story is fairly basic and mainly acts as an excuse for you to start exploring the world of the game, but I will admit that while the narrative itself didn't really grip me, the lore and world building of Luna's Light was actually very interesting and did catch me by surprise a few times, something it largely owes to its post-apocalyptic theme. To be more precise, the game takes advantage of the fact it's set after some unknown catastrophe eradicated our known world by incorporating both archaic as well as contemporary and even futuristic elements in its biomes, something I truly enjoyed and which definitely piqued my interest for the duration of my playthrough. From Luna's treetop village to a bandit fortress reminiscent of the Mad Max movies all the way to an underground metallic complex, the map does offer some interesting variety when it comes to its exploration. Adding to the biome diversity is also the game's visual presentation, which utilizes pixel art in order to flesh out the setting, an art style that I found quite charming and nostalgic since it reminded me of arcade games I used to play back in the 90s. That being said, I did find the map to be quite small and fairly simplistic in design, lacking the creativity necessary to invoke a true sense of wonder when it comes to its exploration and discovery. Speaking about exploration, Luna's Light does feature secrets for you to uncover, thus giving you incentive to veer off the beaten path since collectibles include character improvements such as better bows for increased damage, larger quivers to hold more arrows, armor that increases your health, as well as potion upgrades that allow you to carry more healing vials with you. There's also a side quest system in place that has NPCs ask you for help to retrieve certain items in exchange for rewards, which further encourages complete investigation of the setting. On that note, I believe special mention should be given to the game's approach to ability-gated exploration since instead of the classic skills expected from the genre such as double jumping and dashing, it handles obstacles through the acquiring of different types of arrows that allow you to reach previously inaccessible areas. For example, by finding explosive arrows to blow up walls or roped arrows that create tightrope bridges for you to balance across. The game also features a nice fast travel mechanic which utilizes a subway system for you to quickly move between biomes for increased convenience. Unfortunately, exploration also comes with a major downside, and that is linearity. While the world does hold various mysteries for you to uncover by using your diverse array of ammunition, the game is incredibly straightforward in its discovery, something largely owed to the small size of its map, meaning that for the most part, I didn't really feel a great sense of achievement when it came to finding the optional items since it was quite hard to actually miss them. There's not much ingenuity when it comes to the setting's interconnectedness, and while there's definitely some backtracking necessary if you want to find everything, the whole thing feels very much like a straight line even from the map design itself. Another small issue here is the fact that Luna's movement animations feel a bit lacking, a lot of the time making her seem quite inanimate even while walking, and that goes double for wall jumping, which just seems like she's crashing against the wall with no organic motion giving you any sense of momentum, effectively introducing an element of jankiness into the mix. In terms of combat, the game plays it quite safe, which I didn't really mind, with Luna being capable of both ranged as well as melee attacks when it comes to the disposing of her enemies. The melee attack is very basic and only there for desperate situations when you have let your foes get too close. The ranged approach is also the most popular since it allows you to defeat your adversaries from a safe distance and does feature a nice detail where, depending on how long you hold the attack button for, your arrow may pass through multiple targets and destroy them at the same time instead of just killing them one by one. You'll also need to pay attention to your ammunition, since your arrows are not infinite and can only be replenished by enemy drops or by resting at campfires, which save your progress as well as heal you and replenish your potions and ammo completely, while also allowing you to change your equipment. Healing potions are an important aspect of fighting since they can be quickly used mid-combat to restore your health and keep you from reaching an untimely end. The thing that troubled me the most about combat was the fact that I couldn't walk and shoot arrows at the same time, only jump vertically, meaning that I had to remain mostly stationary while aiming, something that left me vulnerable to enemy attacks and, at times, led to my demise, though I eventually got used to it. A smaller gripe here is the fact that the various different pieces of equipment you get don't clearly state what improvements they provide, leaving you to discover that based on observation of how fast enemies are are killed, or perhaps how much your health or healing potion number has increased or decreased. On the topic of bosses, Luna's Light was serviceable, but didn't feature any big bads that truly stood out, neither from a design nor an attack pattern perspective. The biggest challenge I faced when duking it out with these villains was the aforementioned inability to walk while shooting, which was quite troubling for some of the livelier bosses like the giant bee early on. They were by no means bad encounters and did require some strategy to emerge victorious, but weren't memorable enough either. When it comes to difficulty, I will say that Luna's Light was more challenging than I expected, and I did die quite a few times, though I'd say most of them were caused by the aforementioned stationary shooting mechanic rather than anything else. As for length, it took me about 3.5 hours to finish the game with a 90% completion rate, with an estimated additional 10 to 15 minutes to get to 100% depending on player observation. With a price of about $9, I'd say that it cuts it quite close when it comes to value for money and could potentially be a more viable purchase during a sale, depending on how willing you are to look past its shortcomings. In conclusion, my time with Luna's Light was a mixed bag. I really liked its world building and lore despite the story not really grabbing me. I did enjoy the novel approach to exploration that the arrows brought. I thought the visuals were incredibly charming and did have some fun with the combat regardless of its simplicity. On the downside, the game is incredibly short and linear. Combat can become unnecessarily tricky with the inability to walk while shooting, the bosses don't live up to their full potential, and exploration doesn't feel completely rewarding due to the map's size and design. With all that being said, I do wish to also mention that, despite its limitations, I did find myself very absorbed while I was playing the game, always eager to get that next type of arrow so that I can see what else this world has to offer, something that could potentially be attributed to the speed with which I'd open up new areas, which kept feeding into my hunger for discovery. My final verdict on Luna's Light is 5 out of 10. What did you think about Luna's Light? Have you played it yet? Do you agree with the points I mentioned, or do you see things differently? Let me know in the comments below, and please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Soulsborne Seeker out!